What is a hair tonic and why do you need one? I'm your host, Danny, and on this installment of Pomade Survival Guide, I will attempt to give the most in-depth and comprehensive video about hair tonics out here on YouTube, where I will answer these questions and more. So we'll start by attempting to give a definition of what a hair tonic is. But hair tonics are really versatile and they provide a multitude of different uses. Therefore, it'll be a little difficult for me to pinpoint a precise definition for a hair tonic. But whatever it is not something you adjust. You don't drink a hair tonic, and I'm here before the gamers, the RDR2 players, or those who are misled by the word tonic are here rolling in the comment section. You really should not try to drink a hair tonic, otherwise you should really hope that you have the number for your local poison control center ready with you. But a hair tonic is basically a liquid scalp stimulant and conditioner, and it typically comes in either lotion form or as a blend of oils. Hair tonics have been around for quite a long time actually, since probably as early as the 19th century, and during those times, people were obsessed with tonics, basically liquid remedies, medicines for whatever problems that they can think of. So there are crazy recipes for all kinds of tonics flying around everywhere for ailments, diseases, and one of these problems included baldness and hair loss. So they created these liquids containing glycerin, for example, these scalp stimulating liquids in an attempt to try to grow the hair back. I'll discuss more about the link between baldness and tonics a little later on, but now we'll say that obviously this does not work, but it still stimulates the scalp. But more of these scalp stimulating liquids started to come around even more, and the name hair tonic stuck. And by the early 20th century, hair tonics were very common to use, especially by men. They were actually mainly used by men because during the first half of the 20th century, hair tonics were marketed as hair styling products actually that groom and look after the hair and scalp at the same time. So besides hair creams and pomades, hair tonics were right up there as some of the most popular hair styling products out there for men. Not only do they offer slight control and hold to keep your hair into a conservative and neat, sleek fashion for them, but it also provided some shine. And the shine that tonics provided back in the day were not as greasy compared to other products such as hair creams and pomades, which is why they are the go-to choice for a lot of men who work in corporate environments, especially in the 50s when they don't really want to look like the teenagers in the streets who were largely influenced by rock and roll artists who typically had more wetter and shinier greasy hair. But yeah, shiny hair was the trend back then because shiny hair was seen as healthy hair, and it shows that you were well groomed and very neat as a person. But I'll stop with the history lesson right now and let's get to the more practical information that you actually need and will use. So right now I'll talk about the two main types of hair tonics. So there are oil-based hair tonics and alcohol-based hair tonics. Water-based hair tonics do exist as well, but they usually contain alcohol as one of the more dominant active ingredients, and they function in a very similar way to actual alcohol-based tonics. So from this point on, whenever you hear me say alcohol-based tonics, I really mean alcohol and or water-based hair tonics. Usually the old school hair tonics from the 20th century are the alcohol-based tonics, and oil-based tonics are typically the modern new school ones made by home brewers, and are typically a hand-blended mix of carrier oils beneficial for your hair. However, old school oil-based hair tonics exist as well, but they're usually just scented mineral oil, and they're sometimes called liquid brilliantines. Examples of old school oil-based hair tonics are Vaseline hair tonic, and of course under liquid brilliantines, you have Linetti liquid brilliantine right here. And some of the popular old school alcohol oil-based tonics include Lucky Tiger 3-Purpose Hair Tonic, which is my personal favorite alcohol-based tonic, and Jerry's Hair Tonic. So right now, I'll discuss the many different uses for a hair tonic, and then I'll draw a comparison of these purposes between oil-based tonics and alcohol-based tonics and explain which type of tonic do these individual uses better than the other. So I'll divide these uses into two different types of applications. You have health applications and styling applications. So now I'll start with tonics for health applications. So as I mentioned earlier, tonics are scalp stimulants. Almost all hair tonics out there stimulate the scalp to some extent. Oil-based hair tonics do this by nourishing the scalp with their carrier oils and nutrients they contain, while alcohol-based tonics do this by cleaning the scalp. And alcohol-based tonics actually do a better job at scalp stimulation because alcohol is a disinfectant. So most of the hair tonics you would find out there targeted as advertised as cleaning the scalp and stimulating the scalp are usually alcohol-based hair tonics. But alcohol-based tonics will do a really good job at resolving the problem of greasy hair. If you have naturally oily hair, alcohol-based tonics, especially the ones with that oil, do a great job at minimizing the amount of oil that your hair and scalp produce. All hair tonics also usually are anti-dandruff products as well. But of course, everything starts with a healthy scalp. If you have a healthy scalp, then you most likely would not have dandruff, and it's also a breeding ground for strong, happy, and healthy hair. Which is why hair tonics, even though they're called hair tonics, some of these hair tonics really target the scalp. I mean, alcohol-based tonics, actually, they mainly target the scalp, and with a really healthy scalp, you would have great quality of hair. While oil-based tonics, they feed the hair directly more than alcohol-based tonics do. Sometimes, well, actually rarely, I do see comments from people saying that alcohol-based tonics dry their hair and scalp out, but honestly, I'm not sure whether this is actually the case, because I personally never had problems with alcohol-based tonics, even in dry climates. I never actually experienced alcohol-based hair tonics drying my hair out. And also, the alcohol in alcohol-based hair tonics, they actually evaporate really quickly and they leave the rest of the ingredients behind in your hair. It's not like other alcohol-based products such as hair gels, for example, where they actually legit do dry your hair out. But the alcohol just dries out, it evaporates pretty quickly from the rest of the hair tonic, and all the other ingredients in there are just left in your hair. But if you have the problem with dry scalp, especially with dry scalp, it's still recommended oil-based tonics are actually better for nourishing the hair and scalp, especially if they are dry. So when it comes to cleaning the scalp, alcohol-based tonics would be your best bet. But when it comes to prevent the scalp from getting dry, oil-based tonics are the best bet for that. But if you want a tonic that cleanses the scalp while also nourishing it at the same time, you can opt for alcohol-based tonics with oil, because there are alcohol-based tonics that are free of oil and those that have oils. For example, in my local drugstore, you have these very similar hair tonics right here. They're alcohol-based, It's actually German, but you can find them in Dutch drugstores pretty easily. This is the Garnier Birken, well, Birch in English, hair tonic, and there's the option without oil and with oil. So the main difference between hair tonics with oil and without oil is that hair tonics without oil, like I said, they're better for cleaning the scalp and better for solving the problem of greasy hair, while the ones with oil are better for dry scalp when it comes to alcohol-based tonics. But at the same time, they also cleanse your scalp too. So you have the best of both worlds with alcohol-based tonics. Now let's talk about applications for, still in health applications, hair growth. Now a lot of people tend to attribute hair tonics with hair growth. When it comes to aiding with growing hair out, technically hair tonics do help with that, but they don't help with the regrowth of hair if you're bald. No, they don't. I'll talk a little more about this right after this, but if you have hair, hair tonics somehow do help with the growth of hair. Like I said, a healthy scalp is where it all starts. So with healthy scalps, you would have healthy hair that grows with a better quality and maybe even at a faster speed. So alcohol-based tonics, they indirectly contribute to faster hair growth by providing a cleaner and healthier scalp. But if you want a hair tonic that's specifically for growing your hair out, especially at a faster pace, then oil-based tonics would be your best bet because they directly nourish and feed your hair. The shafts of your hair would absorb these oils and directly into the roots and down to the scalp. So it just directly goes into your scalp. So when it comes to trying to find an oil-based hair tonic, especially for hair growth, you might want to do a little research on the ingredients that these hair tonics contain, and you might want to look out for carrier oils that are especially great for growing your hair, such as argan oil and jojoba oil. So if you're looking for hair tonics online, you might want to read the ingredients list and then do a quick research on what these carrier oils are good for, because not all oil-based tonics are the same. They might have different, slightly different benefits based on the carrier oils they contain. Now we'll talk about hair fall and a little bit about baldness. Now if you're bald or balding, there is no miracle cure as of now for reversing the effect of balding and hair loss. So if you buy a hair tonic in the hopes of regrowing your hair because you're bald, then you should forget about this, because not even a hair tonic can save you. But if you were balding, if your hair is thinning out, a hair tonic would not really reverse the effect, but the most can do is just slow down the rate of baldness. So if you're starting to thin out summer, then you can still consider a hair tonic to slow down the rate of thinning, but eventually you will still get bald. But yeah, hair tonics cannot save you from male pattern baldness or baldness by genetics. But when it comes to hair loss due to temporary reasons, hair tonics can't solve the problem of permanent hair loss, but it can solve the problem of temporary hair loss. Of course, there's temporary hair loss due to an unhealthy scalp, and obviously, like I keep on emphasizing earlier, hair tonics do help with that. And there's also hair loss caused by temporary hair loss caused by traction. But this is somewhat unlikely, but you might want to look out a little in case if you typically have your hair done in a really tight hairstyle, such as man buns, for example, or if you wear hats that kind of pull your hair a little bit, or if you use really waxy styling hair products, you might want to prep your hair with a hair tonic. Any kind of hair tonic would actually do before you actually do these things, and probably apply them daily to improve the quality of your hair. So I guess that's it for the health applications. I covered on what I do need to. And let's get to the styling applications, especially from the perspective of a pomade user and for the pomade user, especially oil-based pomade users. Now, first of all, tonics can be used as a standalone styling product, just like what a lot of men did in the early 20th century, as I explained earlier. And usually you would have luck with these, you would have more luck with these if your hair is at the right type. If you have finer hair, and if your hair is at the appropriate length to keep a conservative and slick style, then hair tonics can still groom your hair. But unless if your hair is more difficult and thicker type, they definitely are not the best when it comes to grooming your hair. But you have hair tonics that are especially designed for grooming your hair, and these are usually the 20th century tonics from back in the day. Like I said, Lucky Tiger, Jerris, and usually alcohol-based tonics, oil-based tonics are actually better than alcohol-based tonics when it comes to standalone grooming without any additional product, because oil is more viscous and thicker than alcohol and water-based tonics. So with this extra viscosity, this would aid in more control and more slickness into your hair. But if you want to use an alcohol-based tonic, it's best to find the ones with oil. But meanwhile, there might be an exception as well, because Vitalis hair tonic is one of the most popular hair tonics of the early 20th century ever, and it does not contain any oils whatsoever. But usually most of the alcohol-based tonics that are good for styling your hair as a standalone are the ones that contain oil. As a matter of fact, today I'm just doing a side part, and I actually styled this with just Jerris hair tonic with oil. Just I threw some of that in, and I just massaged it into my hair, blow dried it a little, and just styled it into place and add a little more. So when you apply these right before styling, you just want to work it in. You just want to massage it into your hair to get the best results and to make sure that your scalp is well stimulated before you style. This was what a lot of the guys did back in the day as well. Then you also have a lot of the, in fact, probably all of the oil-based hair tonics from back in the day, the older ones, like some are marketed as Brilliant Teens, they're also marketed as hair control products as well, such as Vaseline hair tonic and Linetti Liquid Brilliantine. So yeah, you might want to consider any oil-based tonic if you only care about just standalone styling with shine and not so much about the nourishing applications. You just want a little bit of like scalp and hair nourishment, but not the most out of it. You can't consider liquid brilliantines because these are just pretty much scented mineral oil, but I'll just emphasize that a little more later on. So when it comes to styling as a standalone, if you're the kind of person who has their hair, you can style your hair with water and it'll stay somewhat. You will have a good time with tonics, because honestly, if styling with the hair alone will actually dry it out. Not only will you have more flyaways, but if the water is evaporated, it'll also encourage other moisture to be evaporated from your hair. But tonics will let that moisture stay in. So if you love to style hair with water, I recommend that you style with a hair tonic instead. So your best bet would be either oil-based hair tonics or alcohol-based tonics with oil. Now, tonics are also amazing for resetting your hair. So if you have a bedhead, for example, and you just wake up with pretty bad hair, then applying a hair tonic and massaging it in, maybe blow drying it a little bit, would actually restore the control in your hair. And this also works if you have pomade buildup in your hair. So if you have some residue, some leftover buildup from pomades from the day before or the days before, then using a tonic would actually help prep your hair and reset it a little bit. So it's almost like when you style your hair, then you add a little bit of hair tonic to that buildup and not add additional pomade. This can actually almost feel like you just freshly applied the pomade right after the initial application on the first day of styling with the pomade. So they do soften up some pomade buildup as well, which is why hair tonics are also great for degreasing your hair. But when it comes to degreasing your hair, obviously alcohol-based tonics do the best job at this. While oil-based hair tonics do work and do a good job, but in my experience, alcohol-based tonics do a better job when it comes to washing out the leftover pomade buildup from your hair. So if you decide to degrease with hair tonic, you want to do it at the start of the day because these do a pretty slow but effective job. So right when you wake up and you decide to degrease, the first thing you do in the morning when you usually style your hair in the morning, apply as much hair tonic as you need. You can even apply a lot of that in order, if you have a lot of pomade in your hair, to just break it down. Style it as you would normally would, and then just let it sit throughout the remainder of the day. And as throughout the course of the day, the tonic will break the buildup down. And when you hop into the shower at the end of the day, if you use one round of shampoo and conditioner, you should find that a majority of it should be knocked out. But if not all, then go for another round. Then I guarantee that you will have buildup free hair. Then hair tonics also do work as a heat protectant. So if you're the kind of person who blow dries your hair a lot, you can apply some hair tonic before you blow dry your hair, and these offer good heat protectant properties to your hair. But I think alcohol-based tonics do a better job at heat protectant. Then you have tonics for pre-styling applications. It depends on what kind of pre-styling application you'd like for this, because you also have pre-styling for slicker hairstyles. If you want your hair to be as slick as possible with just really tight styles, for example, just a really slick, old-fashioned traditional 1950s look, then you can use pretty much any hair tonic to go along with that. So you start with a hair tonic and then you add your pomade. So not only would this actually make a good pre-style to make your hair look more slick, but you can also eliminate any tug and pull. So if you're using like a really tuggy pomade, like a heavy waxy pomade with lots of tug and pull, like Murray's for example, if you put a hair tonic right in before that, it'll actually ease a lot of the tug and pull, so you won't really get a lot of that difficult tug and pull feeling in your hair, and you won't really pull so much hair earlier. You have less traction, as I mentioned a little earlier in this video. And also another thing which I forgot to explain a little bit about during the resetting of your hair with tonics. Also, if you're really late for work and you just need to throw something in your hair to make it at least a little neat, and you just want to skip the shower, like you don't have time to shower or wash your hair, then you can actually use alcohol-based tonics to slightly groom your hair while also cleaning it at the same time. In fact, you can use that as a shampoo replacement if you dare. Because back in the day, men don't really use shampoo every day because it kind of dries your hair out. So in these days when you skip the shampoo, they actually use a hair tonic in their hair. Then you have pre-styling for providing extra volume and shape to your hair. So if you're the kind of person who wants more extreme hairstyles or just want a foundation for hairstyles to more hold, then typically so-called grooming tonics work the best for that. As a matter of fact, these are relatively new inventions and are actually usually water-based alcohol. Mainly water-based tonics, such as Ruzla Grooming Tonic over here. And these are really specific tonics actually designed for this particular application, that when it comes to pre-styling tonics, I can only think of a few when it comes to the top of my head right now. I can only think of Ruzla Grooming Tonic, and there's also the Surf Tonic from Ruzla, which is a slightly lighter version of this one and quite new. And you have the Stigmore Boost Tonic. So these grooming tonics out there are designed specifically for using with the blow dryer. So they act as heat protectants and they add volume boost to your hair while also adding the initial shape and structure to your hair. So if you want a little extra kick and hold for more extreme hairstyles, or just like a skeleton to provide a better foundation for tall pompadours that really go forward, for example, then grooming tonics are for you. Grizzle grooming tonic. Then you also have tonics for shine. So when it comes to this, typically, obviously, oil-based tonics work best for shine. So if you want to use a standalone, then Brilliantines and old-fashioned mineral oil-based hair tonics work best for this. But otherwise, you can use home-brewed hair tonics that contain thicker oils that don't absorb quickly. Because if you style with an oil-based tonic alone without any other product, like basically oil-based tonics with oils that absorb quickly into the hair, like Tonics, for example. This one's designed with oils that absorb really quickly into your hair and they really nourish your hair to the maximum extent. Then these would typically provide a natural shine. They would add like a healthy shine, but not like a high wet shine, but it just adds a really nice healthy shine. But if you want a really a more wet and greasy shine, if that's for you, then look for hair tonics with a more greasy and thick carrier oils that does not really absorb that quick, like coconut oil or castor oil, for example, because these basically sit in the shaft of your hair and that provides the shine, and the absorption rate is pretty low. Like Tonic Youth by Pomp's Not Dead, for example, this one contains castor oil and coconut oil. If you use it as standalone, it'll even provide a high greasy shine. So really, when you look for oil-based tonics, you want to read the ingredients and do some research based on what you want. Mineral oil-based tonics, they don't really absorb. They're the shiniest and greasiest oil, and they didn't really absorb the hair as much as most other oils do, which is why they care mainly about shine and slight control and just a little bit about nourishing. Then you can go for mineral oil-based tonics, but if you want more nourishing shine tonics, you can go for the ones that contain castor oil and coconut oil, for example, that are mineral oil free. Then you can also use them as a topper as well. If you're using a pomade, you can use them for a top coat, but pretty much any oil-based tonic would do, even the ones with quicker absorption in their carrier oils. Because if you have something in your hair like pomades, these oils would absorb a little slower in your hair. So pretty much any oil-based tonic will do if you're using it as a topper. And finally, you have tonics for scent. And the good thing about oil-based tonics that you have, usually the homebrewed ones, they have a variety of scents that you can actually choose from. And they come in, for example, Tonics has a bunch of different scent options for the same tonic. The video's out of focus right now. I'm just trying to focus it right now. Okay, so there we go. You can choose a different bunch of scents, but the problem with oil-based tonics is that the scent doesn't last too long. So if you want scent applications, the best thing you can go for are alcohol-based tonics. Typically, they have a really strong scent, like Lucky Tiger, for example, is almost like cologne for your hair. And also, if you're a barber, if you run a barber shop, a hair tonic would also be great, especially for those with a barbershop scent like Jerry's hair tonic, to really give that smell of a barbershop. And hair tonics is also great for prepping your client's hair if they walk in with product in their hair, to prep them for a haircut, or even after the final cut to prepare them for styling their hair. And so that's a lot of uses, and I guess I'm done talking about the different uses for hair tonics. Yep, I have this little sheet of notes over here to help me discuss the topics to discuss. There's a lot that I actually do need to remember, but it's not a script whatsoever. But yeah, there are just so many things to discuss, and because of that, it'll be a little difficult to remember all these uses. So I actually prepared a little document that you can find in a pinned comment or in the description below. If you really want to buy a hair tonic, and based on what kind of purposes and uses you want, this document I created contains a chart that'll help you select the type of hair tonic you would need for your hair based on the purposes that you want. So with all these purposes, I believe I convinced you enough to buy a hair tonic. So go ahead and buy a hair tonic out there. You will thank me later. And if you are a person who cares about groomed hair, a tonic would really add to your fine collection. So go ahead and buy a hair tonic and use my selection chart, the PDF document that you can find below in this video, to really help you with that. And if you learned a lot in this video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe to this channel, click on the bell icon so you don't miss a single upload of The Squinty Show, and I'll see you next time on The Squinty Show.